Before we move on, I want to just take a moment again to thank everybody involved with our program and everybody that supports our program. I just want to express my sincere appreciation for all the help as we continue to navigate through this season and the pandemic. It's going to continue to take everybody. I know it seems like it just keeps going on and on, but I'm really marvel at the willpower of some of our staff and our players, and all the work and sacrifice they've all made to help us continue to move forward. Um, I hope everybody's getting a chance to see some of the quality people we have involved in this program, from players to coaches to support staff. It's just really a special group. I'm awfully proud of. Um, we have a tremendous challenge this week with North Carolina. We go on the road again. They have a fantastic football team. They're giving up, I think, 108 yards rushing on the entire season. Pretty impressive there. Just loaded on the offensive side of the ball with skilled players all over the place. Sam Howell is a fantastic quarterback and surrounded by dynamic running backs and playmakers on the outside. Be a tremendous challenge for all of us again as we try and navigate through this week and get ready to go play a team that's deserving of their ranking, if not more, and will pose a tremendous challenge for us.
Use the raise hand function, guys, and let's start with you.
Yeah, Justin, I heard you on the radio show last week. Kind of surprised that we didn't ask you who your starting quarterback was going to be. So I figured I'd ask you this week, who's your starting quarterback to be this Saturday?
I should have kept my mouth shut on the radio show, huh? We'll continue to evaluate it. I'll tell you all this. Things have changed so much and so quickly over the past, whatever that is, 4 weeks. 2 weeks before the Virginia game, we felt like it was Hendon that gave us the best chance to win. Um, you know, Guys have missed. Hendon has missed time since then. The game was postponed. All those things you all already know. Heading into this last week, we felt like, it was Braxton. I'll tell you this: we'll go out there and practice this week like we do with every single position, and continue to evaluate it and try and make the best decision we can for the football team on Saturday.
In an ideal world, and I realize we're not there, but if preparation was equal with everybody, would your plan still be Hooker as the starter, or is that kind of a scrap for the preseason?
Yeah, I mean, we'll just, again, Andy, and I hope you understand. I'm not being coy with the whole thing. It's just things change so quickly, and getting guys up to speed and out there playing. We'll just have to kind of play it by ear.
Justin, Tavion played most of that game. I think you guys only played 4 receivers plus the tight ends. Can you kind of update us on the status? Tyree Sanders, Changa Hodge, they were available but didn't play. I don't think Saunders traveled. And then Elijah Bowick, I know he was injured last season. Is he injured again? What's kind of going on with the
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I would say of the two transfers, Evan and Changa, they're continuing to come along. Changa missed some time that probably set him back a little bit. We're encouraged by him. We love that he's here. I'm excited. I know he's going to definitely contribute. We just got to continue to work to get him and Evan up to speed. Evan's played obviously more than Changa. Elijah's still working his way back, to help us. We'll see where along in the season that occurs. It's not right now. He's not ready to go, not completely recovered from his injury, but he is working back in to try and help us.
And what about Tyree Saunders?
Yeah, Tyree continues to work hard and do a good job. He's just not. I'm encouraged by what he can be and what he will be if he continues to work hard. But right as of right this moment, he's just not ready.
And then in terms of coaching, you mentioned some of the difficulties in getting without guys during the week, but on game day, when you have multiple coaches and staffers out, is it hard to kind of get everything set? I mean, is there some a minute to kind of get used to all the guys in the different spots? Can you take us into what it's like on game day when you're moving guys around and trying to get everybody accounted for, and what's that actually like?
Well, usually on a normal week, when you walk off the practice field on Thursday, at least for me, when I was a coordinator, a head coach, there's a little sigh of relief. You're now into walkthroughs and meetings and fine tuning the details of what you're trying to do. For us, that's kind of been the beginning of the work. We've planned and practiced all week, and then you're just getting new information as to who's available, on almost a daily basis right now. So, it throws you into more meetings as coaching staff and how you're going to handle it, who's going to be on the headsets, who's going to call it, how's the organization go. All those meetings that you had, in the middle of fall camp as a staff to make sure you ironed all those things out before the very first scrimmage we're having every week, to make sure everybody understands from a coaching perspective their assignments and their responsibilities. And then you can imagine what that does to special teams. You've got units that have both offense and defensive players on it, guys that there's only so much time during the week that you can devote to special teams. And now all of a sudden you've got guys that have repped all week that aren't available, and your second and third team, and guy that was on the right side is now on the left side. So when he used to hear a call and step right, now he hears the same call, but he's supposed to step left. I mean, the kind of jigsaw puzzle, putting the puzzle together, continues well up into Friday night now.
David Teal.
Justin, along those lines, when a coach such as Coach Hamilton is not in the building during the week, how involved is he? Is he logging into staff meetings via Zoom and player meeting? How does all that work in the lead up?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he can still. I guess that's how I know that he's not in the Bahamas or something, because I do see him, every day in our staff meeting, and can still hold position meetings remotely. Obviously, he still has access to the film from practice and is able to game plan. Now he's doing it from home with a brand new baby, so I'm sure it's a stressful time for everybody in that house. But he's still intimately involved in what's going on, just from a distance.
And then with Khalil, obviously his burst, you see that a lot. But as you evaluated his time in Kansas, did he gain a lot of yards after contact as he has here thus far?
I don't know. That'd be an interesting study. I felt like when watching his film, he certainly was a guy with enough talent to come in and help us. For us, it became a character check, like what really happened, how did it all go down at Kansas, why is he not there, those sorts of things. What's his family like, what's he like? So, I think we probably made a relatively quick evaluation in terms of what we thought his talent level was. We thought it was pretty obvious pretty quickly that he certainly was a guy that, from a talent perspective, could come in and help. It became, most of our investigation became into Khalil and what was he like and that sort of stuff. And I can tell you, from every corner of his life, people stood on the table and said, this is a great young man, and he'll be great in your locker room. He'll be a great practice player. Obviously, he's talented. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, things didn't work out there, but he has been as advertised in terms of quality, a person, quality of family, just a great addition both on and off the field here at Virginia Tech.
Mike Barber.
Yeah, Justin, every coach wants to think that their organization is set up to be resilient, but I guess until you face it, you don't really know. How impressed are you with the fact that you guys are 2-0 bottom line at this point?
Oh, I feel fortunate. I feel fortunate to be surrounded by such great people. It's a testament to people in our program that many people don't know their names. They don't get any praise or accolades, but they do understand that our mission is to help these young people be the best that they can be in all areas of their lives. And sometimes you have to reach outside your comfort zone in order to try and give them those opportunities. And we've got a whole army of people here at Virginia Tech that are willing to do that. So I'm pleased with that. And I think, if the games had been 10 or 14 points different and maybe we hadn't been on the right side of the ledger, I think I'd still feel the same way about the way not just our team, but our support staff, which basically encompasses everybody, have gone about trying to help these kids.
People have, of course, known Bud Foster's name over the last however many decades. They're getting to know a lot of your defensive assistants this year because they're being pushed into roles. Can you talk about just how some of those guys have stepped up and taken on more than maybe they expected to?
Yeah, I think it's just a great example to young coaches everywhere of trying to prepare like a coordinator. Just because that may not be your title, you may be a graduate assistant or a position coach or an off-the-field coach, whatever your role is. You have to try to prepare every week, which is difficult. It's like being the second or third team quarterback. It's hard to do. Prepare each and every week with that in mind, with a total understanding of what's going on in that position. And we're fortunate that we have some really bright young people here that have already done that, and then we're actually given a chance to through odd circumstances, to let those character traits shine through.
Thank you.
Norm,
Justin, you've gone into some details about all that's had to take place just to get guys on the practice field and to the game on Saturday, given all the contortions that you had to go through last week with your secondary. I wondered if you wouldn't indulge me with a little of the specifics of what it took just to get guys to the game at that point. And I'm just talking about a timeline, kind of when did you get an idea when this was going to get all basically blown up? I mean, Tyler said he didn't find out until Thursday night he was going to start. I know you're finding out Monday and Wednesday and then Friday about guys, having positives on tests and things like that. I just didn't know if you had a clear idea early in the week or late in the week that this was going to be a significant issue and that it was going to get blown up. You're going to have to get super creative with what you did. And to sort of piggybacking on that, how did Keontae avoid all this?
I don't know. It's just there's so many. I'd love to give you a more in-depth and intelligent answer than that, but I don't have one. We're going through it 3 times a week, and you have guys. Just to be frank, you have guys that have already been positive that aren't being tested, and then you have your groups that haven't been, and we're going through it 3 times a week. So at 3 separate times during the week, you get more information about where we're at. And, we had a big wave several weeks ago that, obviously put our first game in jeopardy. And now we're not, or I don't feel like, and things can change, guys. I'm just being as candid as possible. I don't feel like it's the same big sweeping numbers. It's smaller. This one happened to be more concentrated in terms of position, and that's what scares you. Is just above and player safety and health, but in terms of just fielding a football team, it can get so concentrated that they can really put your team in jeopardy. And we were really on thin ice there, obviously, in the secondary this past week. Hopefully it gets better as this week goes on. So the short answer to your question would be I'm not sure about Keontae. The second answer would be it kind of matriculated with 3 separate incidents throughout the week.
When you, I think this goes without saying, but you could probably express it better than anybody. How fatigued are you at this? We've asked you, I know we've asked you at different points. We asked you in August, we asked you in September. Now you're deep into it. How fatigued are you just with answering questions and dealing with all this? It's got to be a constant mental and physical struggle.
Well, you guys are the least of my worries. Answering questions about it, I understand. And I hope you all understand that I try and give you as much as I can. It's probably not as much as you want. I understand that part of it too. But it's just, it's just, I think the biggest thing is, and again, I try to go out of my way to not sound like a complainer. I'm not complaining. I'm very grateful for what we've got and the people that we've got working around us, and the way our kids have responded and tried to do the right thing. It's just, it's a little bit of a weight around you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you got to find a way to just make it to breakfast. That's we had a Navy SEAL come talk to us early in fall camp, and I asked him off to the side. I kind of went all fanboy on him to talk to him about what it was like training and all that sort of stuff. And, he kind of told us, he said, Justin, if you look at all of the training you have to do to be a Navy SEAL, it just overwhelms you. He said, but if you can just focus on making it to breakfast, and if you make it to breakfast, try and make it to lunch, and if you make it to lunch, try and make it to dinner, and that's all you worry about, then you've got a chance to be okay. And so we've kind of taken the mantra of let's try and just make it to breakfast and take it one step at a time and control what we can control. And I know y'all are probably tired of hearing me say that, and I know our players are probably tired of hearing me say it, but it's the absolute truth. I mean, we've got to do our best to control what we can control and just try and make it to breakfast.
Gene Wong.
Justin, it's too early to speculate on Coach Hamilton's availability for this weekend. Kind of as a follow-up to that, what are the challenges of getting ready, obviously for a game without a coordinator in person, but now you're facing Sam Howell, one of the best quarterbacks in the country?
Well, I think Sam Howell's a bigger hurdle than Coach Hamilton being conducting meetings via Zoom. I mean, Sam is a fantastic player. It was easy to see that last year as a freshman. His incredible poise. I think an underrated aspect that he may not get enough credit for is his toughness. Watching the film from last year, I mean, he took some heavy shots in games and just kept getting back up and standing in there and delivering the football. Incredibly accurate passer, that has a really good run game to go along with it. So he and that entire offense are a tremendous challenge. We'll see when we get everybody back. They're all going through those protocols. I have zero say in all of that. They just tell me as we get through it. So, hopefully he and, some players and coaches will be returning. I'm not exactly positive on the whole timetable right now.
Aaron McFarland.
Thank you.
You've been telling us since you got here, hey, look, guys, I'm not opposed to having a 100-yard rush. I'm not opposed to having a load-bearing back. Now, 2 weeks into the season, I know it's small sample size, but you're up to 30 counties in terms of average rushing yards per game. Is this closer to your ideal? I mean, now that you have what you have back there?
Well, I would say, having Khalil back there certainly makes us better. And, I think we do have to be cautious with him. But in the first game, I think he only had 6 carries, if I'm not mistaken. So I do think we need to make sure we're not overusing him. And we have really good guys that can fill in and not have a huge drop-off that I feel really comfortable with. But I certainly like having him here and the ability to, get the ball to the unblocked hat and make the unblocked hat miss has been really big for us so far this season.
Andrea.
Yeah, Justin, as a follow-up to what you've been talking about, I know you mentioned the support staff and getting the team to where it is, but what does it say about the character of the players in the locker room that they've been able to perform the way that they have, given all the uncertainty?
Well, I don't know if I can say enough about their work ethic and their commitment to the football team, and their willingness to do whatever it takes and rise to the occasion. And not just the guys that are filling in. You know, when you have guys that have to fill in for people that are out, it's kind of incumbent on everybody else to try and elevate their game. Not in a way that you try and do too much, but in a way that you kind of take a little bit of ownership of it and understand that the team may need more from you in the week and ultimately in the game. So I think it's been a fantastic compliment to these young people, these young kids or young men, their ability to handle adversity and kind of just plow through the uncertainty and the unknowns that we're all dealing with.
Hank? Hey, Justin. Coach Brown has talked about how, North Carolina's had to learn to be more patient offensively this year. Not as many big plays as last year. What kind of champ have a team that's so methodical?
Well, I think the first thing I would say about them is, and I don't know what everybody writes about when they talk about their offense, but they can run the football. I know Sam and those wide receivers, they may be the difference makers for them on the outside, but I'm telling you, like, it starts with them running the ball, and there's a definite commitment to running the football for them, and rightfully so. And those backs are explosive and powerful. So, they're not afraid to take the ball underneath. They're not afraid to take what the defense gives them and continue to commit to the run game, which then ultimately, I think in the long run, provides you opportunities to continue to push the ball down the field and ultimately have those big plays that they've come accustomed to.
Okay, and regarding your availability of players, I imagine on Monday morning you could probably have a list of X number of guys that won't be available because of protocols. When do you find out definitively? I know you guys test on Friday. When do you find out definitively who won't be there?
When do we get the results from the tests on Friday? Is that what you're asking?
When you find out definitively?
The Friday tests, we usually get them late Friday night, early Saturday morning. It was a pretty quick turnaround this past Friday. It was Friday evening. The week before, it was pretty late Friday night. As the week goes on, we know the return dates for the guys from the previous tests in our medical people's conversations with the health department. But the final Friday test, we usually get the results late Friday night.
And how do you handle the question marks when you're on the road?
The best that we can. It's just we have to play a lot of what ifs and have a plan to be able to field a team based on a variety of varying circumstances.
Thank you. We'll try to get to as many more as we can. Paul.
Hey, Justin, congrats on the win this past weekend. So now that you've made a road trip, I'm curious how much different everything is, how much you had to adjust out of your weekend plans, and did you need to kind of adjust things on the fly once you left last week?
No, I think we were a little more spread out on the buses, took another bus or two. The hotel setup was a little bit different. We took up more room than we usually do. Obviously, you don't need huge meeting rooms or a huge special teams meeting room during non-COVID times. During these times, maybe you double the size of the room and get the chairs spaced out and so on and so forth. We all got our masks on all over the place. That's an added part of it. We eat just a little bit differently with guys spread out all over creation. So, in general, we take up a lot more space than we used to. it just takes a little bit more to get us down there and get us back than it used to.
Wayne? Hey, Coach, good morning. Are you a believer in a team making its biggest progress between weeks 1 and 2? And if you are, where did you guys make your biggest improvement? I know that's probably a little bit difficult to evaluate given all of your question marks, but where did you see the most improvement?
I do think you can make large strides from week 1 to week 2. I don't know if this is a typical year that you can. Obviously, it's a little different, a little more difficult to make generalizing statements about the season. I just think each week is going to be a season for us in terms of, at least as it is right now, in terms of trying to handle all this stuff. So I don't know that we made huge strides, quite honestly, anywhere. I thought we did some things well. We did some things that certainly need improvement. Some areas that we wanted to improve, I don't think we did, quite honestly, from week 1 to week 2. But some of that's a product of what we were dealing with, and that may be the case from here on out.
Couple more, Jermaine.
Coach, good morning and congratulations on being 2-0. I got to ask you, you guys have rushed for over 300 yards in both your wins. I got to ask you, if there's a word or a phrase you would use to describe, say, the offensive line or your running backs or all the guys involved in the running game, what would that be and why?
Well, I think they're cohesive right now. They seem to be taking great pride in the accomplishments of others, which if you're an offensive lineman, that's kind of your job. But, there seems to be a group of guys genuinely interested in helping each other out. We've played several guys, particularly on the inside last week. Brock is the leader of that group, but I see them taking pride in Khalil and the other backs' accomplishments. I see them working together and as a cohesive unit right now.
Andrew?
Hey, Coach. Just wanted to talk about the tight end group. I mean, 2 straight weeks now that James Mitchell's got a touchdown, and then Nick Gallo had that big play on 4th down. What can you just say about the tight ends group play so far?
Oh, I think it's a great group of kids, talented. James and Nick have gotten a lion's share of the work. James and Nick are similar in the fact that we ask a lot of them in terms of assignments and responsibilities, and being involved in pass protection, being involved in the passing game, being involved in the running game. And they're so smart. They seem to pick it up really, really quickly. So I couldn't be more pleased with those guys. And the thing I think that's important is I continue to see them improve. They continue to get better. Nick's continuing to improve. James is continuing to improve. And I know everybody measures those guys off of catches, and I get that part of it. But they contribute so much more than just catches to the run game and to the passing game that they become really big weapons for us.
Wayne? You got me. You can go to one other.
Pete, you can pick another one if you want.
All right, Andy, back to you.
Yeah, Justin, I don't know what your recollection or memory is of walk-ons coming onto the team. I know they're always on and off all the time. What do you remember about Tyler Matheny's decision to come play here? And, I know walk-ons always come and say, someday I'm going to play like that, but it's a pretty small percentage who actually do. How rewarding is that for you as a coach to see somebody like that step up and actually play?
Well, I think it's a fantastic story. It's well-deserved. You get guys of varying talent level that walk on. That they're, you can tell, relatively quickly if it's a guy that, you think one day, has a chance to be a contributor, on offense or defense, or one day has a chance to be a contributor maybe just on special teams, or maybe one day gets to run down on a kickoff if you're up considerably in the fourth quarter, or if this is a guy that's going to be a glue guy, a guy that just helps the football team in any way possible. And Matheny has just worked himself in kind of up those levels, quite honestly, into a guy that contributes. Obviously got to start, but is going to contribute to the football team on the defensive side and in special teams. And I think it's a testament to his work ethic, his toughness. I mean, I haven't heard him say very many words. I mean, he just shows up and does whatever we ask him to do, whenever we ask him to do it, and it's always fun to cheer for guys like that.
Eric Johnson, did you have one?
Hey, Coach, you talked about how just important the run game is for UNC, but your defensive front has been pretty disciplined the first 2 weeks. Just curious how vital that will be this week when you have those power backs that can also be elusive in UNC.
Well, they certainly are dangerous. I mean, they have that ability to take the ball to the house. I mean, if you're out of a gap or you give them a crease, they can break a tackle and score. Take a 8-yard gain and turn it into an 80-yard gain in the blink of an eye. So it'll be imperative that we do a good job. We've given up some rushing yards. Part of it's kind of how we're designed right now, but it's going to be really important that we find a way to both try to create pressure for Sam in the backfield when he's throwing the ball, but also stay sound in the run game.
Mike Nisley.
Yeah, Justin, you mentioned the rating of pass rush. I think you guys have more sacks off the edge through 2 games than you did all last year with your defensive ends. How much does that kind of change things for the whole defense when you can do that consistently? Barno had a couple sacks, obviously. Belmar had a couple, but just through 2 games, does that change the equation for the whole defense when you can do that?
Well, I think it certainly helps when you can create pressure with 4 and sometimes 3, particularly when you're short in the back end. It can be a huge advantage for you. And, that was something that we had to have last week. It wasn't an option. I mean, we had to find a way to get some pressure while still being able to cover down in the back end to try and help those guys that we've spent the last 30 minutes talking about. And they did a great job, but trying to get the quarterback off his spot is going to be just as important. So they've been, the philosophy between Tierlink and Tapp and really Justin Hamilton doing a great job meshing all of those things together has been really beneficial for us.
Amare, was in without Zion available. He got his first kind of real extended action and made the most of it. And how much has he come along just in obviously 2 months at defensive end and, seeing some production early? I'd imagine he was pretty thrilled with his game.
He was, and he was a big contributor on special teams as well. I mean, really running down the field with some speed. I can't remember when this was, but it's been some time ago. I told you all that Amare was moving to defensive end, and then there was a little buzz about what was that going to look like. Well, Amare missed I don't know how many weeks with like a hip flexor, and so his growth obviously was slowed while he was out. Since he's been back, I see him continue to improve. Does he have things to work on? Without a doubt. But again, those guys know they're going to play. I think that's a huge part of it. He knows this week when we go take the field tomorrow morning, Amare knows he's going to play, and even though he's not a starter. And I think that's huge for those guys' willingness to continue to work to try and perfect their craft so they can put it on display. And he had 2 sacks and a forced fumble. We didn't recover the fumble, but a forced fumble, and has a chance as he continues to grow and evolve to be an impact player.
Thanks, Justin.
Last one, Tim.
Coach, I know you guys made a punt return change after Tavion had the muff. I'm not sure if it was right after or later on to Raheem Blackshear. Do you plan to stick with Blackshear this week returning punts, or do you plan to go back to Tavion?
We'll see how practice goes. Like, I mean, I would probably edge towards we'll put Tavion back there, but we'll see, how practice goes. I really was proud of Tavion and how he responded after a rough start, the first play of the game, and then the punt deal. And, it's hard, Tavion's done nothing but have success on the field. I mean, he's just a very natural, instinctive, smart football player. And all of a sudden, he's sitting there in the first quarter and hasn't gotten off to a very good start. And I was really impressed with how he responded to that. And that shouldn't be overlooked. He continued to battle. He had a big block on the last run of the game with Khalil, and obviously a couple big catches. So I'm anxious to get back out on the practice field with Tay and get him feeling good and get him playing the whole game like we know he can play.
All right, thanks, Coach. Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
Note that